Thank you so much for joining for this roundtable about art and peace education. For this, I'm joined by three very dear people regarding this notion of how art can transmit peace. We have the scholar Melvin Hardy. Thank you so much, Professor, for being with us. We have Alla Rogers, who is, I would say, more on the artistic and entrepreneurship. You'll tell all about how art is linked to peace education in your practice. And Lisa, who is an artist, and he's using also art as a way to transmit a notion of peace. Thank you all three for joining me. My first question will be, first, introduce you better than what I just did, because you deserve way more, and tell us how, social health and peace education is really linked into the way you're using arts. Maybe let's have Melvin Hardy first.
Well, thank you very much. And I greatly appreciate being associated with your assemblage of persons whom I have known for some time, Miss Alla Rogers, but to get to know both you and Lisa is very important. I come at this principally as a practitioner, as advisor to the arts. I'm certified as an arts consultant for some number of years. I spent, 40 years on the boards of different arts organizations, learning the craft not as an artist, but as a student of the art practice, looking at the artists' pole prints, looking at artists and the democratic process of creating lithography in a group setting. I am also what might be considered to be an arts administrator. My wife and I run a fairly significant arts education organization here in Washington, D.C. And I am now appointed as an instructor in arts and peace transformation culture at the Carter School for Peace and its Political Leadership Academy at George Mason University.
Thank you so much. Let's have Alla introducing herself.
My name is Alla Rogers, and I'm here in my capacity as the Director of Art and Cultural Impact Programs for Global Peace Education Network. I am an artist, but I really have spent my entire life in the art landscape, in various art forms, in dance, in music. And I operated an art gallery for 30 years that was focused on art from the newly collapsed countries of the former Soviet Union. And I was involved in organizing cultural initiatives internationally, and in the area of the arts, as well as in the area of developing initiatives for newly created democracies. And art is very important within that initiative as well. I feel that art is, I was having a conversation with someone and I said, history is the story of mankind, but art is the expression of the most sacred aspirations of mankind from the beginning of time, when we know man was creating art. And so art is aspirational, it's transformative, it transcends language barriers, it transcends cultural traditions, while including them in the conversation. Art is a very, very powerful means of humankind recognizing its shared humanity, regardless of the specificity of where they come from. So I feel that this is a very important conversation that we're having today.
Thank you so much for the spirit and the inspiration you're giving us. And Lisa, could you introduce yourself, please?
Oh, first, let me just say how beautiful the work is that that all of you are doing, and what an honor it is to be here. So, I'm Lisa Worth Huber. I'm the president of the National Peace Academy, and within that organization, which is what I was going to focus on. We work with a variety of peace professionals, peace educators, community organizers. We have a series of projects that at some point, if we get into this, I can share some of that with you. And I bring the arts as methodologies toward really understanding and creating peace. Finding it a transformational way of addressing conflict. I have a background in theater and storytelling. Taught a master's program in storytelling and oral traditions, which is foundational to my work. I'm also been a teaching artist for several decades. I work with writing, poetry, theater, spoken word, comics and graphic novels. So just all these varieties of methods of telling the story. And with that, I also have a deep focus on narrative healing, particularly around trauma.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you all the three to be with us. So what we see is that you are extremely involved in this notion of peace education. Let's begin by Mel explaining the image in order for us to be more concrete regarding how you're using art through peace education.
The image that was presented was that of a bonsai tree, but it's emblematic of the work that I do at the UN and in civil society around the nuclear weapons abolition matter. We know that the atrocities wrought on Japan, both Nagasaki and Hiroshima, were devastating to lives that were collateral in certain policy-making agenda. But this matter of my creation of this artwork, it was really collaborative. Many artists in the Washington, D.C. art area helped me to both conceive of this because they know of my work. I might mention that last year, I presented the first ever presentation at the Non-Proliferation Treaty Talks on the role of the arts in nuclear weapons abolition. So in addition to bringing an historian and an activist to look at the history of activism around nuclear weapons abolition, I also brought an artist whose work, Lebanese-American artist, she was subject to the civil war in Lebanon and into Syria, getting airlifted out of Syria into London and then to the United States. So the matter of the arts in looking at so many of the issues that confront the basic humanitarian impulses of humans, their desire for safety, their desire for realizing their aspirations to fulfill their endowment as being human. This is my signature, if you will, to look at arts, which is the predicate of my life, in my teaching, in the corporate work that I do, in the nonprofit work that I do, my work even with the United Nations. So thank you so much for asking.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for the depth also of what you're sharing. Alla, you also wanted to share some pictures. Let me have them for you to explain us the process and the techniques you're using as an artist.
Yes, bringing people together. This is a light moment in a plein air that took place from artists from all over the world. And it lasted a month. And so here the artists are outdoors just taking a break together. But what I say is bring people together and let the learning begin. Because in this process, the artists lived together, worked in plein air together, shared their concerns as artists about how difficult it is to paint in living daylight as the light moves every second. They gifted art to one another. They got to know each other as human beings first, and as artists who share the same beloved activity that they're all devoted and passionate about. And so I feel that that's what this particular image and these three images are about.
You also mentioned this image, you know, that is really reflecting, I would say, the notion of absorption that art is offering.
Yes, these two artists came from Georgia, Abkhazia, at a time when there was active warfare going on. And one of the artists on the right had actually sustained a bullet wound to his leg and had recently healed from his injury and came to this place, this beautiful place where they could find quiet and community with other artists. And so the absorption is there. The artist on the right is from Georgia, as well as on the left. Yeah.
And I really like this one.
Yes, this was at the very end of this portion of the initiative. We're having a totally informal exhibition of what the artists created, so they could see it up on the wall and share the information with one another and enjoy one another's struggles in their creative process. And so afterwards, after the artists saw it and shared their own conversation, the town in which this took place was invited to come and just enjoy a very informal celebration. So I feel that at every point, there is this reaffirmation of the shared human experience, even though it has the specificity of art. It is the wonderful, elevating, joyful feeling of we are humans together in this world. And there was another thing that happened during this time that was beautiful as well with children. Children sat for one another to paint each other's portraits. And there was a total language barrier. They didn't speak one another's languages. So what happened is they had to look deeply at their subjects. They painted one another. They got to talking through interpreters. They invited one another to each other's homes. They got to know how they lived. It was a beautiful exchange of spontaneous affection, really, that developed between them. And so again, you know, the technique is not formal in that sense. It's informal, but art is the platform, the delivery platform for the message of shared humanity.
Thank you, Alla, for this beautiful sharing. Now, please, Lisa, we would love to hear about those images that seems to really share also the joy of being together that art is also offering.
Thank you. Yes, it really, that's such an important part of it, is the way that art creates community, addresses issues that are very hard to talk about, often in other, in more dialogue situations. This opens things up. So in the first image that you see there, I'm working with a group of teachers. All of these teachers are in public education, and this is part of their master's program in learning and thinking. And in this project, they're exploring themselves first through the Enneagram, and then we have a creative mask making session, and you can see the masks that they wear. And we explore this idea of masks through the work of the sociologist Irving Goffman's idea of dramaturgy in everyday life. So there's a deep dive that they go into questioning, who am I? What are the masks I wear in the world? And they journal deeply about this. They create the masks, and then they each of them write their own monologue to sort of describe this. And to provide a little bit of a backstory, I live 9 miles from Sandy Hook Elementary School, so many of the teachers I work with have deep trauma around school shootings and the protection of children, and the escalation in suicide ideation, the COVID isolation that so many have been dealing with, and then the students' anxieties and social fears now that they're back in the classrooms. So there was much for these teachers to explore. And after they do their monologues, they break into groups, and each of them write a one-act play addressing a current school issue of conflict, either in the school and the community. And through this process, they're able to give voice to so many of the things that they are afraid to talk about, and come up with creative ideas and solutions. And then from then we have a deep dialogue and work on next steps and how to take this work into their classrooms and into the community. And in a way, this work reminds me of Paulo Freire's idea of hope, where he emphasizes how in following the path of peace education, we create hope. And hope is the emotion shared between students and teachers.
Beautiful, yes.
And then this image that you have is a community mural project. And these create intention to bring people together collaboratively on a piece of art. And this particular mural project was designed and directed by an award-winning artist, Tao Labossiere, and it was facilitated by local thinking youth nonviolence leaders. I work with the Connecticut Center for Nonviolence. We do Kingian nonviolence training. I'm a teaching artist there and also a mentor for teaching artists. And we have a series of mural projects throughout New Haven, particularly in communities where there's been a high level of gun violence and, fear on the street. And these, each of the projects specifically highlight one of the 6 principles and steps of Kingian nonviolence. And this one that you see here is the universe is on the side of justice.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Give us really concrete idea of projects, artistic projects. We are unfortunately at the end of this exchange that is very rich. In one sentence, very short, what would you like to say? What is your message to all the people who are following us today on World Art Day? What is your message? Mel, please.
The message would be the primacy of hope.
Thank you. Beautiful. Alla.
Our greatest gift to one another is our shared humanity, and I experience that through the arts.
Thank you very much. Beautiful. Lisa.
That art education invokes the idea of the moral imagination, which is emphasizing beauty despite how there might be a breakdown. And I go to Dostoevsky's quote that beauty will save the world.
Beauty will save the world. I think this resumes pretty well this roundtable. Thank you to all the three of you for being here, for giving us hope, and for giving us elevation also in the use of art. Thank you very much, and keep the good fight.
Thank you.
Thank you.